29, Laredo.
Which is the next right here.
Get out of the vehicle!
This is me in a police car chase in one of the most important but dangerous border towns. And I'm here to uncover the truth behind the border crisis that some are calling an invasion. I am in Laredo, Texas, a key trade hub that handles nearly half of US-Mexico trade. And it's an area where the Noreste Cartel has heavy influence on both sides. So I plan to ride along with those on the ground to learn how these chases, stash houses, and border walls reflects an issue that goes beyond what we hear on the headlines. This will be a two-part series, so like and subscribe to learn what I quickly got myself into. So I guess like for my viewers, like explain to me what exactly like a highway police does. How's that different from border patrol? Because you said that recently you started controlling a lot more of the border,
Yeah,
right?
so Border Patrol, what it is, obviously they're a federal agency. I guess their main purpose is find, any kind of illegal activity that has to do with the border, right? So anything from drugs, any unauthorized entry into this state or into the country.
So I'm curious, do you always have to be recording as a body cam, or do you get to choose?
What our policy basically says is that anytime we make any sort of interaction with the public, or arrest, or even if someone just comes and wants assistance with a flat tire, stuff like that, we have to be recording.
I see.
That's usually the...
What happens if you forget?
This system inside, as soon as I turn on my lights, it'll turn on the camera. It'll turn on both the inside camera and my body cam. Even though I'm not pressing record, in a way, it's already recording.
Now it was finally time to start a ride along. So we're heading to Rio Bravo.
So this is Rio Bravo right here.
So past this sign is now a Rio Bravo.
Yeah.
Kind of looks low-key like Mexico. So this is the river.
Yeah. And you kind of tell. So once in a while we'll have people like that are fishers. Like those guys actually
People go fishing here.
Yeah.
So guys, this is the border. The other side is Mexico. So is this an area where people come through, or this is not as much of a high area?
Yeah, no. So what they'll do is they'll circle around. They'll start circling around. They'll have the people run. They'll run up, and then they'll get picked up there, and then they'll just try to book it.
Oh wow. So this very location.
That's why if you have a Border Patrol agent like this, they're not gonna cross the... Sometimes they'll get brave at night because, visibility and stuff like that. But even as we're walking here, we have those cameras we spoke about.
Right.
There are hidden cameras here. It's just, you can't see them. That's the purpose behind them. Border Patrol does something called, sometimes they'll be dragging a tire. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Okay, so what happens is like right here, right? This is clear right now, except that tire mark. But what they do is I'll show you an example. You see those footsteps?
Yeah.
So what they'll do is they know exactly that someone's been walking through here. But let's say those footprints are mine. So they'll mark it, right? Like they know, okay, that's mine. That's my footstep, right? When the other agent comes along, they're like, okay, that one's friendly,
okay.
But let's say I'm an illegal immigrant and I'm trying to cross that way. I'm gonna leave footprints, right? I'm gonna leave footprints
up.
So that's how they know someone just crossed. And they know if it's fresh or not, because sometimes with some dirt and air, it'll kind of start hiding it, the dirt. But let's just say they catch me upriver over there. Then they know, okay, this guy's wearing that spot. They'll look at my shoes like, okay, yeah, that's the guy.
And then
we caught him, and then they'll match up. It's like, okay, yeah, that guy came from this time. He's part of that group. And then once they're done with their traffic, they'll get a tire, they'll get a branch, and then they'll drag the tire. They'll actually apply it to their hitch, and they'll drag the tire, and they'll clean the mark again. And that's where we go back to the carpet underneath the shoes. And I'll share some images of those.
So a lot of migrants wear carpets.
They wear carpet, and that does not leave a print behind. Sometimes these migrants, what they'll do is they'll get a branch, they're, chop it. Yeah. They'll start and they'll have a guy and he's just literally erasing all the marks. You gotta remember, a lot of these people, that are crossing, they're going straight to these communities. Some of them don't have the security fences. They don't have doors, heavier doors and stuff like that. So some of them run right into the home, and that's what
really?
that's really what we don't want.
Right. And so I want to talk to one of the locals that live just steps away from the border in this neighborhood to see if this has indeed increased over the last few years. But first, and as you'll see with this video and all the videos on this channel, look, it's clearly a lot of effort for scripting, editing, and finding footage. And that's where today's sponsor, InVideo AI, can come in as the co-pilot. They'll do the heavy lifting for me. InVideo AI is the world's most used AI video creator, and it helps me save a lot of time making videos by using simple text prompts. And all I have to do is start with a simple text prompt to get me started with a first rough draft. Like for an upcoming video of mine, I could type something like, create a 10-minute video about how tech addiction is impacting male loneliness and how it's giving us a false sense of connectedness. I can even say things like include examples, be funny, and use a British voice narration. And after that, I can select my audience, look and feel, and platform to generate the video.
Let's talk about loneliness. It's not just about being physically alone. It's about feeling emotionally disconnected.
And from there, I can fine tune it with additional prompts, like changing the intro, adding subtitles, find better footage for a scene, translating it to Spanish, and the best part is I can even clone my own voice and make it narrate the video in my voice in any language. So you can try InVideo AI for free, but for just $20 a month, you'll remove the watermark and unlock voice cloning and high quality stock footage. So use my link and code GEN50 to get double the video credits in your first month. And now back to the video. So I wanted to speak to some of the residents in the neighborhood because we've heard all year of this migrant crisis, and I was curious on what those who live steps away from the border have seen. But would they want to speak up considering the presence of cartels involved in the smuggling and their influence on both sides of the border?
Okay, so I think we found someone chilling out on the porch that we could talk to.
¿Qué le
She seems friendly. She's smart.
¿Vive aquí o vive allá? Ah, ok.
¿Cómo estás?
¿Bien español?
Sí, sí, más o menos, más o menos. Me llamo Gen.
Magdalena.
¿Magdalena? Oh, es un nombre bonita.
Gracias.
¿Cuántos años vive aquí?
Tengo 40 años.
40 años. Oh my God. ¿Cómo es la situación muy cerca de la frontera aquí?
Pues muchos problemas, bastantito, pues los señores que pasan, del tráfico, pasan muchos carros muy fuertes, bien recio.
¿Todos los días?
Sí, casi todos los. En la noche también. Estaban abajo de la troca de mi esposo, entró la migración y se los llevó, los esposaron y se los llevaron, sí.
¿Cómo es la situación ahora comparado con hace 4 años? ¿Es más o menos o similar o más?
Más. Ahora es más.
¿Por qué?
Porque hay mucho tráfico, hay mucha droga, muchos señores que pasan mojaditos y todo eso. Sí, sí.
¿Qué es su opinión de la frontera? ¿Necesita más fuerte?
Sí. Sí, sí.
¿Piensa que el policía hace un buen trabajo o necesita hacer más?
Un poquito más.
¿Cómo?
Que anden más vigilando, checando, pues cuidarnos, ¿verdad? Aquí de día y de noche. Pues más de noche porque de noche pues pasan más. Es porque es mucho la gente que han estado pasando y pasando y pasando. Y pues estamos en peligro, ¿verdad? Porque ahí puede venir mujeres buenos y malos, ¿verdad? Y pues estamos en peligro de que...
If you kind of look through this little gap that we have here, you see those spikes up there?
Right.
So that's for a purpose, right? They're doing it because they're pretty much tired of people crossing into their property.
In a way, they're creating their own border.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you have your property, you buy your property, you want to be safe in your property. You want to know that that's your property, no one's going to get in there.
Right.
So the fact that people are just jumping into your property, that in itself is dangerous.
And what he said made me think back to what he told me before we left the police base.
What happens is that a lot of these immigrants, unfortunately, they're not coming just solely to work here. Some of them are coming either to traffic drugs, traffic weapons, currency, and some of them are even gang members. Some of them are not even here to work. Some of them are just here to bring in the drugs and then go back to the river.
And if there's one thing that both sides can agree on at this point is that more than ever, this border security has become a hot topic.
We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration.
So what's caused this explosion of 7.2 million migrants, and is it actually a big problem? Well, a big reason has been the end of Title 42, a policy enacted actually during COVID that allowed rapid expulsions of migrants without having to process asylum claims. And so when you combine that with economic hardships in countries like Guatemala to Venezuela, and as you'll see in this video, the rise of more sophisticated smuggling networks, all this has contributed to this crisis. And as someone who's explored other border towns like Eagle Pass, look, I think it's ridiculous how we have politicized everything, including this damn border issue. And not to mention that as a son of legal immigrants, does it make me xenophobic or racist when myself or others don't believe that we should just let anyone in? And even though my intention isn't to expose nor glorify the cops, as I'll reveal by the end, what you'll see may change how you look at this issue.
So in order to cross through Laredo, you have to go through the cartels.
Yes. Yes. You
So
can't
if you're
just
a
cross.
Mexican resident that wants to come here, there's no other way. You can't do it on your own.
Yeah, I mean, if you
What happens if you try?
Yeah, if you try, it's bad news for you. And just to kind of give you a perspective on that, sometimes we have what's called a splashdown, and this is the opposite. But so what a splashdown is whenever we're pursuing a smuggler and he decides to take his vehicle and splash it into the river in order to escape law enforcement. So he'll actually literally drive his vehicle into the river and he'll swim back to the Mexico side. In order for you to do that, you have to have special permission. Do you know why? It's gonna be a high presence of law enforcement. So what happens then is that we're now disrupting any kind of criminal activity in that piece of river. That person who paid for that little piece to smuggle people, now he doesn't have that ability. So whenever we have vehicle pursuits, these people actually call for permission. And you know, because they're on their phone and they're asking like, hey, I'm getting chased by a cop, and they'll be going around the river, and then eventually I guess they get the green light and boom, they splash it down. If you don't have special permission, we've had a case where the guy swam back, they start hitting him behind the head, like kind of like slaps behind the head, like, hey, you messed up. And then they put him behind a car and they just drove him off.
Never saw him again.
Never, I mean, he was a US citizen. I mean, I haven't heard if he ever came back or did not come back.
Wait, he was a US citizen?
Yeah. Yeah. So we have most of the smugglers that we're having right now, they're US citizens.
And as I saw later on, that absolutely seems to be the case. But before we went to more sites, I wanted to meet the Texas Ranger that you'll be seeing a lot more of in the part 2 of this topic.
Nice to meet you.
He's gonna be recording some stuff. Obviously, you know, none of your stuff, but he already signed the waiver. He's good.
Yeah, sign my life away, everything. What exactly does a Texas Ranger do? I know Texas is the only state that has kind of like this quote unquote Ranger program. Can you tell me about your duties and how it's different from all the other law enforcement?
Well, we're basically geared to help other smaller agencies with their high-profile criminal investigations. Since we have state authority, let's say I'm working a case in Zapata County and the fugitives in another county, well, they can go with me and they wouldn't have any problems, any issues.
Has there actually been like a noticeable difference in terms of like migrant flow and crime and anything like that between Biden versus the Trump administration?
Okay, so we can't really like discuss politics and stuff like that,
Okay.
but what I can tell you is that
Let's say current administration versus before administration.
so the governor, with this new initiative with Operation Lone Star, he actually gave us the ability to go into some of these ranches. A lot of these ranch owners are tired. You know, their cattle are getting loose, their fences are getting broken into, their homes are getting broken into. It's come to a point where there are some even places where they're so tired of them breaking into fences, they actually built little stairs for the migrants. So we're working a lot with the ranch owners, and a lot of them have given us the ability to put up these fences with State Guard, and that's helped out a lot. And that's paid 100% by the state. And even when we're done with this operation, they get to stay with a fence and stuff like that.
So I guess what I'm getting at though, and I know you can't discuss politics or anything,
Yeah.
but it has been busier
Right now, but
over the last few years.
Visit with me when I retire now.
Is that an open invitation? Okay, man. All right.
It's gotten to the point where now they have to get on the technology side. So now we have drones, right? We still fly drones, but now in the Mike side, which is the Mexico side, now they're flying their own drones.
So
they're gonna weed us out.
So the cartels are flying these drones to know where your guys' drones and where your guys'
they like to show off a lot too, right? Like there will be TikTok, like videos and stuff like that where they're like pinpointing us and they're flying the drones, and you have the operator like looking at us.
You're telling me that the cartel has a TikTok page that shows this drone
they
footage?
do. And they ask me all the time, hey, how do they influence the younger generation, like these 14, 15-year-olds? Because that's what we're seeing right now. It's like TikTok, because 14, 15-year-old is in TikTok. He's like, hey, look at that guy. He's showing off all this money, big gold chains, and he's showing in the truck.
So there's cartel influencers.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, you gotta switch them up.
You haven't seen them.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't seen them.
And so one thing's for certain, and it's that to their credit, man, the cartels are organized. And it makes sense when they can make as low as $10,000 to even $100,000 per person to smuggle over to the US. In fact, even back in 2021, according to Homeland Security, cartels made $13 billion on human trafficking and smuggling alone, so you have to assume that they're even making more now. But how does it all work when migrants are entering in from border towns like Laredo and then migrating to other areas from Colorado to sanctuary cities like New York, where they are offered protection from deportation?
Tell me more about the stash house.
Stash houses are very interesting because it's basically like a safe home for them, right? So basically what it is like they'll wait there until it's their turn to kind of shift up further north, depending on where they're going. So if they're going to, let's say, California, or hey, I want to go to Houston, they separate them by groups. It's like, where's my California group? Okay, then you're gonna be in home 8. Hey, where's my Houston group? Okay, these guys. Okay, hey, which are the people that didn't pay? Okay, these guys haven't paid. Hey, you know what? Put them in that other home, and they're not gonna get out of that home until they pay.
You said you got another stash house around this thing?
Yeah, there is another stash house around this area. I remember. Look at this home.
Yeah, Jesus. Right here.
Oh, they closed it.
Oh, no, it's open.
No, but they closed it. They changed it.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Shit.
We're not gonna be able to go in.
We can't go in?
So,
damn.
Yeah.
Well, we actually ended up getting clearance the next day, so like and subscribe so you can see it in part 2. But anyways, with Laredo being one of the largest and most significant border towns, I wanted to see the main border gate that people actually do use to cross every day legally. So what I'm starting to understand so far is that clearly it's not easy to manage the border, whether that be combating cartels and their advanced networks and influence to dealing with limitations behind international jurisdictions. But one thing is for certain, from what I've seen so far, is that whether it be Texas Highway Patrol like Eric to Federal Border Patrol, many are doing their individual best to manage the situation. But just when we were heading home to call it a day, I saw the reality that whether night or day, things can happen out of nowhere.
Sirens are on, so I guess what happened?
Yeah, so they have an FTY, which basically means a filter yield. It's basically a pursuit. So right now we're gonna make it over there.
Got it.
So you know what's the updated location?
Man, you're probably so used to like driving like this, right? So I don't know if you guys as a viewer can feel it, but we're definitely going fast. We're like, what, 100?
So as we got closer and closer to the suspect, little did we know though that other troopers were already right behind him.
So that's one of our troopers. He's already in the chase.
Okay.
It's a black Honda Civic.
Black Honda Civic.
Clothing.
So he's actually passing the lane. So we're very close.
Third base. Or eastbound.
We went to the right ranch subdivision.
We're gonna be eastbound and Mortillo. Probably gonna be eastbound from the Canto.
Southbound 264.
Hey, should it be across the sack? Concord Hill.
Drive towards Concord Hill. Cruiser 45 on speed.
It says take a right here.
We're gonna be
Okay, then keep going, and then you'll be turning right on Cruzeiro.
Vehicle now heading northbound on Encanto.
They probably bailed out.
Back to Cruzeiro.
Hey, driver!
Get out of the vehicle! Get out of the vehicle! Driver! Hey! Get out of the vehicle! Driver! Get out of the vehicle, driver! Hey, show me your hands! Put your hands outside the vehicle! Hey! Put your hands outside the vehicle! Driver! Hey! Let me see your other hand!
What's that 20 for the 304?
Actually, for 304 was heading east on Encanto back towards Cruzeiro.
He's in custody already.
304 copy, driver is in custody, advising for 20.
Oh.
Just calling my mom, bro. That is a question for you. You can tell, you just tell them.
Drivers in custody, direction of Encanto and Cruzeiro, leaving Encanto and Cruzeiro. All units to Navy have been deleted.
Or so let's get to
Let me just talk to him real quick,
Yeah, of
and then
course.
I'll be back with you. Man, it gets difficult because sometimes all these cross streets
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
That seems to be the vehicle right there.
Oh, okay, cool.
I was in the right location, but then
That's
all
the
of a sudden we
vehicle.
didn't hear anything.
They catch any guys over there where he bailed out?
Oof. Okay, so just give me the signal to get out. So we're in the middle of the suburbs.
Yeah, just kind of give us a little bit of space, but
Yeah.
you can record right here.
So it seems like they apprehended the person. That was the Honda Civic that,
How's it going,
they
sir?
were, that we were chasing around.
Yeah. We'll check right now. Did he have an ID with him or no?
He called out the location. They have the location.
You guys can see this is like right in front of like
Probably.
all these
They
houses.
look like they're walkers because look at that huge backpack he has.
Right now they're searching the vehicle.
Their backpack.
As you can see, there's belongings.
So these guys are wearing camo.
Okay.
For the most part, when they're getting camoed, they've been walking through the brush for a good amount of time. These are usually your higher paying ones because they're dressed in camos. They're trying really hard not to get caught, right? They did bail out, I believe, 4 of them. He called a bail out near this location. So right now we have Border Patrol trying to go look for those people. Hopefully they do find some and bring them more here to this location. But for now, he's gonna charge for the human smuggling, but I'll get you closer to the vehicle
So
right now.
he's a coyote.
So he's basically like the smuggler, right? He's the one
Okay.
who does the transportation. So if you see like a lot of these people, like they have these heavy backpacks, and
Mm-hmm.
normally what they're trying to do is they're gonna be walking for a large amount of time. You see the camo clothing
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So these guys are essentially ready for days, ready of traveling. You know, they'll have these bags.
So there's no problem touching this because don't you have to cover like fingerprints and all that, or?
So this, no, because we already got the driver.
Okay.
So he's been
Got it.
apprehended. The migrants really, once they get apprehended, they get Border Patrol. We usually don't touch the car whenever we don't catch in.
I
Because
see.
now we're trying to get fingerprints,
Right.
stuff like that. But if you look at their backpacks and stuff like that, you see they always have like, you know, this is what they cross with. You could tell it's wet and stuff. So this is originally the clothes that they use to cross, and then they'll change. They never stay with the wet clothing. They always change to dry clothing. This is actually a Mexican Coca-Cola. So do they sell this here? Yes, but what are the chances of this guy having an empty Coca-Cola? So we know for the most part, these might be Mexican nationals. It could be a combination. Sometimes they're from Honduras, sometimes they're from Guatemala. So it just depends on. But yeah, you can tell this vehicle has been involved in a vehicle accident, has no airbag. So it might have already been used for human smuggling. But how I said, it's gonna have a lot of like different belongings from different people, and that's how we know that's been involved with human smuggling before. Usually when they start circling around certain locations like these, it's because they tend to live somewhere near here. So we actually looked at his address, and he actually lives.
Oh, so he's a Mexican American.
Yeah, he's a U.S. citizen. Yeah, he has an ID and everything. Yeah, so those are the different type of uniforms, right? Like we have the utility uniforms. These guys are usually like the brush team and stuff like that. And then we have the tan uniform. That's basically like our main uniform. So when you see a DPS trooper, you should see that uniform. So we'll sit them at the front, how I told you. We'll put a seatbelt, and like if they're getting, like this guy's pretty calm, stuff like that, but if they're kind of getting like very like, you know, feisty and stuff like that, we do have leg harnesses and stuff like that to kind of, you know, put them in place.
Yeah, it still shocks me that you guys put him up on shotgun. So now was that circling to?
Yeah, that's a U.S. Customs, so that's the helicopter. So they're actually looking right now for migrants.
Pirates.
The migrants.
Oh, migrants.
The ones that got away. Yeah.
Okay. So they're looking for the 4.
Yeah. Yeah, they're looking for those 4 migrants.
You were super calm, and you're like, oh, can you like look up this site? And I was like,
yeah, I mean, it's always best that whenever you have these vehicle pursuits, you're always supposed to be cool and collective, and your adrenaline obviously is rushing, but you can't stress out too much because it's like, we don't want to get into a vehicle accident, but I don't know how you felt. I mean,
yeah, I guess, you know, I've done this before, at least right along, but I think it was crazy of how confidently you were going through freeways.
Yeah, we were going pretty fast.
Like 100 plus, right?
Yeah, we're going pretty fast, but it's pretty controllable.
And so did all this change my mind? Well, when there are areas like Loretto where these migrants who essentially view it as like their last ditch with criminal histories and who were denied asylum go to enter, and when it's literally impossible for those who want to enter illegally to do so, no, this investigation didn't change my mind in that we shouldn't just let our borders open for anyone. But it absolutely changed my perspective on how I see this migrant crisis and why it will always likely be an issue. Because just like we saw, even if the people on the ground are doing their absolute best to manage the situation so these migrants that enter aren't eating your cats and dogs.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the pets.
And I will say, as an Asian, I'm finally glad that we're finally not getting the cat eating accusations. But in all seriousness, it sounds blatantly obvious, but like most US issues, if the government truly wanted to fix it, it could have and already would have done so. And you'll see what I mean with Operation Lone Star.
The Biden administration is now suing Texas and Governor Greg Abbott for refusing to remove buoys in the Rio Grande, designed to deter migrants.
Just last year, Texas Governor Abbott installed a 1,000-foot string of floating buoys in the Rio Grande to combat the illegal immigration and smuggling. And these buoys were decently effective because it made it difficult for migrants to get through by swimming under or over. But then what happened was that the federal government sued and ordered its removal. They cited lack of federal authorization, human rights concerns, environmental harm, and saying that the buoys pushed migrants into more dangerous crossing areas. So again, even though the buoys' effectiveness can be debated between the state and federal, what it does show is that if the US really wanted to actually stop illegal immigration, it has the resources, technology, and funds to do so. So you might ask, why the hell haven't they? The reason, as always, is money. The US and especially big industries relies on illegal immigrants for jobs that Americans don't want, like agriculture, construction, and look at the back of any kitchen of your favorite restaurant. And these workers that you can pay less to do the same job helps corporations keep their costs low, which in turn also keeps wages low because of competition for ordinary Americans. Yes, criminals with bad intentions enter. But let's also be honest in that many hardworking people enter. And that yes, technically they're criminals for crossing over illegally, but at the end of the day, they are risking everything for a better future. And for the US, it's an endless supply of cheap, desperate workers that'll be willing to take anything that they can get. And so just remember that if you're ever wondering why a problem has been or hasn't been solved, you gotta follow the money. Because even with all the things that the government gets wrong, like seriously, have you ever been to a goddamn DMV? Why is it that they know exactly how much you owe in taxes every single year? But again, it's just a theory, and so I'll be taking a closer look in part 2 with the Texas Ranger, because it's also not as just simple as building a wall. So like and subscribe so you don't miss it. And also don't click off yet, because if you like our mission, you can click the link in bio to learn more about how we can start taking the next step of leading the future of journalism together. Or you can watch this next video here.